This is PetesGuide, and welcome to Metric Monday. Today's topic is rulers. Some people call these scales. I'm beginning to think that ruler is the exact correct word. A scale measures things relative to something else. So like an architect's ruler is an architect's scale. A balance scale is a scale. But these just measure fixed sizes. So these are rulers with rules on them. And if that's too pedantic, you ain't seen nothing yet. But we've got a mix here of metric and non-metric rulers, inch scales, inch rulers. And this is the collection I've gradually built up over the bunch of years. And because I need to focus on metric today, I'm going to start getting rid of some of these, but I'm going to do it in an order that allows me to talk about quality. So first off, let's get rid of this because it's no brand name. The scales, you won't be able to see this in the camera, but the scales are inkjet printed. They're durable, but you can still see the dot pattern under a loop. So let's ditch that. And then we've got your old wooden schoolhouse ruler with the metal edge. And this is actually a fairly well-known brand. Inexpensive. This cost me $1.98. But there's parallax here. And there's a thickness that varies, so you can't use this to measure certain things. And because the scale doesn't start at the exact edge, wood is too fragile a material, there's no way you can measure the height of vertical things because you can't but the edge of the scale, edge of the rule, because the edge of the rule on the ruler doesn't line up, you can't measure the heights of things accurately. So that needs to go. Oh, I forgot to say, this metal 6-inch ruler has another problem. It's got inches on one side and centimeters on the other. And centimeters are evil. I'll tell you where I learned that phrase in another video. But millimeters or meters, I don't think there should be anything in between. And then this is kind of interesting. This is a DigiKey ruler. It's actually a printed circuit board with a whole bunch of useful measurements on it. But again, they used centimeters instead of millimeters. And this has some interesting features on it, like all these hole sizes and some type sizes. But it's given me some ideas for a ruler that I want to make in the future, but it's not really close enough for me to want to rave about this, but it's one of my favorite rulers nonetheless. Then we have this ruler, which has no name on it, but has 8th, 16th, 32, 32nds, and 64th graduations on it. And oh, it is a start. Oh, so this is going to go in my good pile. I dislike the serif font on here, but this is one of the best known measurement brands on the planet. So this is going to have a special place. And then we have the ruler I was getting it confused with. A little bit of rust on it. And again, they have, they've mixed inches and millimeters. So this is better than inches and centimeters, but there's some reasons why mixing units on a ruler is not the best of ideas. But this does have a nice feature in that they've labeled the major gradations here on the graduation scale. Makes it easier to read and interpret, but it's still not ideal. So that's going to be set aside, and I wish I could know what brand this was, but anyway, that's a project for another day. This, I think, let me double check. Nope, it's not. I was going to say I thought this was my only roller with hundredths of an inch, but this is General brand, and it has tenths, hundredths, 32nds, and 64ths, but it's pretty thin. It's nice and flexible, so if you need to bend around something that's not too small in diameter, you can actually fit that to the surface. But I haven't found a good use for this. I don't know if this was a hand-me-down or if I bought this, but that's a mystery I'm not sure I'll be able to solve. But Toyo, this is another well-known brand, Japanese ruler manufacturer. And again, I dislike the serif font, but no millimeters here. We have 32nds and 64ths and 50ths and hundredths. So this will be useful when I'm measuring inch things, but not my favorite. So that leaves us with the fully metric rulers. And the main reason I wanted to do this week is this ruler. This is an Incra ruler. It's an incremental marking ruler, precision marking ruler. And it needs a specific tool to work with it. A mechanical pencil with a lead that's 0.5 millimeters in diameter, half a millimeter. And the problem it solves is when I was building this test board for storing my metric screws, my M6 screws, my first version was a disaster, but I'm keeping it around as reference. My second version is better, but I tapped both rows of holes with an M6 thread, and really what I wanted to do on the top row is tap M6 fine thread. So I'm going to have to redo that, and as long as I redo that, I might as well do it with my favorite ruler on a larger piece so that I have room for labels. And if I did it with this, I can see these marks relatively well, but there's no physical constraint so that I can repeat my accuracy here. I could use divider calipers and mark pinpricks and then find my centers like that, but there's also no way to hold this perfectly parallel with the edges. So that's where this Incra ruler comes in. And it's got markings first off, it doesn't just have markings. At each marking, it's got either a hole or a slot that perfectly fits a 0.5 millimeter pencil lead. So it also has this bar on the side. These are marking T-rules, actually. So this gives me a ruler that's now parallel with the long edges because it's perpendicular to the short edges. And if I want to mark, I'm going to mark lines that are, I'm going to go 20 inches from each end. And we'll go, the one issue with this is it's too long. And there's actually one that's shorter, like 150 millimeters, so I think I'm probably going to buy that. But for today, I think I can make this work. And I just want 1 or 2 clicks on the pencil lead. And then I find the 20 millimeter mark. That's not working. So I actually need to show you one of my other favorite tools. This is Scotch removable poster tape. And I'm going to use this on the bottom. and then show you another tool. This is one of my favorite tools. This is a Victorinox Swiss Champ XLT. This is the second one I've owned, and a couple slight differences. It's now out of production, but it has almost every tool that Victorinox has ever had in the Swiss Army knife. So I'm using the pharmaceutical spatula as a makeshift burnisher. It's not the best for that, but it's the best tool on this. And then I'm going to use the thin blade, the small blade, to poke the covering on the double-sided tape and lift up one of the corners of just the covering. And I don't know if this is the best method for this. You can see it's not perfect, but I've found it works better than trying to get in with a thin blade like this, because you kind of have maybe a 20% chance of succeeding in that. Maybe much worse. I've never really tried to count that. And there. Okay, so now I can set that down and come back and find the 20mm hole. And let's go both ways. And then let's go this way. No. That's why I want the short ruler. Because this edge hung up on the edge of my workbench, and that's pretty cool. So now I can push it down again. Nope, I'm going to do it horizontally. And then find each of these marks in the gap, and now I can mark every 20mm. So one of the problems I'm having is that this is soft wood. It's basswood, I believe. A little harder than balsa wood, but still soft enough that, whoops, that's wrong. That's 170, this is 180. That's 200, 220, 240, 260, 280, 300. And then we'll do the same thing on, let's see, yeah, we'll do the same thing on this side. And there's 20. 40, 60, 80, 100. So these slots are short enough that the line I drew down the entire length of the board is actually deep enough that it's kind of like a little chasm. So it's harder than I anticipated marking these lines. And I've had this problem before and I thought I would be clever and use blue painter's tape so that I could make the marks on the blue painter's tape and then center punch them and peel the tape off, only the tape didn't come off smoothly. So I think there might be a better kind of tape to mark, and for another purpose. I wanted to show how cool these incremental rulers are. Marking ruler, precision marking rulers. The brand is Incra, and if you don't like millimeters, they do have these in inch scales, and they have protractors and a couple other really interesting measuring devices. And anyway, since I'm starting to ramble, I think that's all my brain has that's worth sharing today. But that's what I wanted to show off today, is how interesting this scheme is for a marking ruler that allows you to mark directly on the part. This is PetesGuide, closing down.